Greetings, all you fine, wonderful people. If this is your first time here or you're brand new, I'm Wayne the Musical Hermit, and today I am going to be looking at the album Harvest by Neil Young. The reason why I decided to start going through CDs and stuff was kind of just see what's in my collection. And quite honestly, I forgot I even owned any Neil Young in my music collection. And then I started to go back and think, how long has it been since I listened to it? And I'd say it's been about 2009, 2010, probably somewhere in there since I've listened to Neil Young. So I thought, you know what? Let's throw this on. Uh, I was doing some research and I figured which one would I start with? And to my shock, Neil Young's Harvest, I believe in the United States, I read on Wikipedia. Now that's Wikipedia. Who knows exactly how true it is? Said it was the highest selling album in the United States in 1972, which a couple songs on there I can see why. But anyway, I was originally going to have this series called Does This Album Suck? I haven't quite got there. I seen Canadian Stud Muffin Larry Graves has that idea already. So I thought, you know what, I'll go back into the thinking machine up here and come up with another way of looking at this. And I just thought, you know what, I'll come out here, give my general opinions on it, however brief or long it might be in the video. I'm going to try and keep these videos quite short. So without further ado, let's dig into the album. Now, the track listing for this album was Out on the Weekend, Harvest, A Man Needs a Maid, Heart of Gold, huge hit. Are You Ready for the Country, Old Man, There's a World, Alabama, The Needle and the Damage Done, and Words Between the Lines of Age. Now, coming into this, the songs, I'll just say right off the bat, the songs that I remembered coming into this was Out on the Weekend, Heart of Gold, Old Man, and The Needle and the Damage Done. Because those were songs when I first heard it that I just really, really liked from this record. It has a feeling of kind of mixture of like country, rock, and at points even adds in like symphonies, a little bit of piano stuff. So musically, I actually forgot how kind of musically diverse, even for kind of a country sounding album, that this is. This is pretty much like Neil Young's signature album. Everybody knows it. This one and Rust Never Sleeps, which would be later on in the decade, I think right around 1979. Let's get into this. Out on the Weekend. Good track. Great kind of country-ish rock kind of feeling. Just some great lines like, think I'll pack it in, buy a pickup, take it down to LA, find a place to call my own, try to fix up, start a brand new day. It's a really interesting song, at least for me. It's a great opening track for this record because it kind of gives you that kind of country feel to the record without being too country. Harvest, to me, is a song I've never liked from this album. I thought it was actually, in my opinion, probably the weakest track on this album. It goes country, but it goes a little too country, where it doesn't have like the folky kind of ballady kind of feel to it. It's very just something for it's missing for me. And as much as I wanted to like this song, it's just I think lyrically is where it really shines, but the music is just I don't know. And it's one of these things coming into this. I remember with Neil Young, one of my number one things I always said with Neil Young albums is that I find I like songs off the albums, but there's times where I don't like the whole thing. And maybe that's coming from prog, where you used to concept albums and all that. And in a weird way, I really actually think this in a way is partially a concept album about the harvesting of love, is really what I got out of it, where he was taken and finding this, he was dating somebody, really falling in love with them, and this is kind of like the whole relationship, minus a few tracks that kind of go off into other avenues. Song number 3, A Man Needs a Maid. This song really, from the start of it to the end, is the song that probably this and There's a World, which is also kind of piano-y, symphonic in a way, are the ones that really grew on me as I've kind of listened to the album. Nice piano. Neil's voice, I have to say, at times, I'm not a huge fan of, but on this, I really am. On to song number 4, probably his biggest hit he ever had, Heart of Gold. Fantastic. Just a really fantastic track. If you haven't heard Heart of Gold, quite honestly, go out, listen to it. I'm sure anybody who's watching has heard Heart of Gold. It's been played on the radio. It's been covered by many other artists. Features the backing vocals of the great James Taylor and Linda Ronstadt. And the 2 biggest hits on this album have them both vocally on it as well. But I want to live, I want to give, I've been a miner for a heart of gold. It's these expressions I never give that keeps me searching for a heart of gold. Like, just fantastic. And then it starts off with, and then it ends that whole verse with, I'm getting old. And it's really cool, the musicianship. The one thing I'll give this album, and I didn't mention it on the Weekend, but I'll mention it here, is the fact that Neil does harmonica, but without the harshness of Bob Dylan. If you get what I mean. Like Bob Dylan, you listen to it with his voice and everything, and it feels like almost he's beating you over the head with the harmonica. With Neil, it kind of comes in, it's subtle, it's used to kind of just be there, but not like overbearing, I guess is the best way I could put it. Another great one with, I've been to Hollywood, I've been to Redwood, I've crossed the ocean for a heart of gold, I've been in my mind, it's such a fine line that keeps me searching for a heart of gold, and I'm getting old. Just a killer song. It's well written, well constructed. I can see why it was a huge hit. It's kind of that great marriage of kind of folk, country, but is upbeat enough where rock audiences might actually even enjoy it. So, yeah. Next song on it, Are You Ready for the Country? Like Harvest, this is a song. This is a more rocking tune, like kind of getting back out into the country, and I'm just like, do I like this? It features David Crosby and Graham Nash, kind of the usual Neil Young staples around this time. From Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. Lots of contributions. The Stray Gators is the backing band on this album. Really good stuff. It's really interesting that is like the first rock song. Then you get into the second big hit off of this, Old Man, which I've always loved this song from the first time I heard it. Old man, look at my life, I'm a lot like you were. Old man, look at my life, 24 and there's so much more. Live alone in a paradise that makes me think of two. Love lost, such a cost. Give me things that don't get lost, like a coin that won't get tossed, rolling home to you. Like, just a absolutely killer acoustic number. Amazing. Like, at this point, you can already tell Neil Young's a very strong writer. And this is coming off of, I believe, After the Gold Rush, which is another album I actually have. I was shocked when I had it. There's songs off there I absolutely like Don't Let It Bring You Down is probably one of my all-time favorite, like, probably top 50 songs of all time. Like, I remember the first time I heard that, that's what really got me into Neil Young, other than, like, hearing Heart of Gold, Old Man. It was stuff like that. Just a killer track. Lullabies, Look in Your Eyes, Run Around the Same Old Town. Doesn't mean that much to me, to mean that much to you. I've been first and last. Look at how time goes past, but I'm all alone at last, rolling home to you. And you can tell throughout this, lot of love. I know he wrote this kind of about a ranch hand he had living at his ranch and everything, and it really takes how Neil Young kind of looks forward and back at the same time, like through two different people's eyes. Next song on here, There's a World. Like, it's really interesting to hear, because you wouldn't think Neil Young working with a symphony, especially the London Symphony Orchestra, really interesting to hear this and hear his kind of work with it and how he incorporates it into the music to the point where it doesn't sound like anything off the album. But I think that's what really gives it its charm, is it feels out of place, but it's still I want to say simplistic enough where it works for both audiences, whether it be country, whether it be rock. Not quite sure the prog fans, but I think the fact there's an orchestra on here is really interesting. And I always found it fascinating, all these people doing all these things in the 70s and taking chances, taking risks. And I think it really paid off here very well. There's a world you're living in, no one else has your part. All God's children in the wind, take it in and blow hard. Look around you. How has it found you walking down the avenue? See what it brings. Could be things in the air for you. Like, just really interesting stuff. Next one is probably the more political song on the album. I always thought of Alabama as kind of Southern Man 2.0. And I remember reading a little bit about this album before coming on and filming this. And one of the things that, quite honestly, even Rolling Stone said about this, which Rolling Stones, I figured they'd be like almost, the magazine would be almost kind of really loving this, is they said it kind of originally felt like a rehash of some older Neil Young songs. And I think this is the first one where I really felt it, but it still has a killer riff on it. And I have to say, I like it. It's more rocking. It's upbeat, high tempo. But it does, like, when you're like, oh, Alabama, the devil's fool with the best laid plan, swing low, Alabama. You got the spare change. You got to feel strange. And now the moment is all that it meant. Alabama, you got the weight on your shoulders that's breaking your back. Your Cadillacs has got the wheels in the ditch and a wheel on the track. Really interesting lyrics from Neil. Just a killer song at times, but like I said, it does feel very Southern Man, where he's kind of in that Southern sphere. Kind of hear it. He had Ohio, he has Southern Man, now he has Alabama. Maybe he was going to go through the whole 50 states at one point. Who knows? Next song on the album is, quite honestly, personally, one of my all-time favorites off this. The Needle and the Damage Done, which is an absolutely killer song. Written about one of Neil Young's former guitar players from, I believe it was Crazy Horse? Had pretty much a heroin addiction and I believe died. And it's kind of interesting looking at it from Neil Young's eyes, where he's in this whole sphere of great musicians and how they all kind of had their vices, and like all within years were like dropping like flies of overdoses. Like, you have, like, they call it the 27 Club of Morrison, Hendrix, and Janis. Many others just succumbing to addiction. But the lyrics to this, I caught you knocking at my cellar door. I love you, baby. Can I have some more? Oh, the damage done. I hit the city and I lost my band. I watched the needle take another man. Gone, the damage done. I sing this song because I love the man. I know that some of you don't understand. Milk blood to keep from running out. I've seen the needle and the damage done. A little part of it in every one. But every junkie's like a setting sun. It's really, really an interesting take on what was kind of going on, and I find it really interesting, like listening to people from that era sing about subjects like this, where they're watching a lot of their contemporaries pass away, and how sad it really, really is. And I have to say that's one of my, like I said, it's one of my all-time favorite songs. It's killer. I absolutely love this song. And then the final song on the album, Words, Between the Lines of Age. It's an interesting song. I'll sure give it that. It's very, very interesting. It's rocking, but at times it feels almost like, and this is just Neil's kind of, I believe, I'm not sure if it's Neil or, I want to say it is because it sounds like the electric guitar. And it kind of feels as if it's going, it just sounds weird, if that's the best way to put it. It sounds choppy, I think is the word I'm really kind of looking for here, where it feels awkward. That would be the best. It's very awkwardly sounding to me as a guitar player, because used to everything sounding at least somewhat smooth, really going hard. But it is a good song. Like there's parts what I really like. The one thing I'll give it is Neil Young's a hell of a lyricist. And that's where I'll really give him his due, is he's a good lyricist. He can write lyrics that are thought-provoking, really make you step back and think. But I have to say, so overall, what would I give this album? Or actually, before I do that, songs I like off this album: Out on the Weekend, A Man Needs a Maid, Heart of Gold, Old Man, There's a World, The Needle and the Damage Done. Absolutely fantastic. Favorite song off this album, like I said, The Needle and Damage Done. Worst track off the album, I think, is the title track, Harvest. That's the one I think is the weakest. But yeah, that's my thoughts and opinions. If I had to give it a grade, I'd probably give this a solid 4 out of 5. Like, most of this album I actually found I really enjoyed. There's a couple hidden surprises on here I found that I didn't like the first time, that I came back years later and have appreciated, which is A Man Needs a Maid and There's a World. Both songs really have come back, appreciate them a lot, and yeah. Has a couple really big hits, Heart of Gold, Old Man, which everyone's heard. If I was giving this album to somebody, yeah, that's probably where I would start, is kind of, yeah, there's just a couple songs on here I just don't care for. Harvest. Alabama kind of seems like Neil Young retreading old material. But that's me. Anyway, I'd love to know what you guys think. Please comment down below. Tell me what you think of Harvest by Neil Young. Once again, I have to say to you guys, thank you so much for watching. This is me here signing out. Peace.